Today we are going to do the seeding for the larger area that we made the long bed, and as a reminder, behind it will be the no-mow zone. So this is the way to plan on a wildflower pollinator habitat for larger areas. And we already did the paper that we wet down and did a heavy mulch of leaves. So today we're going to add minimal soil. And so that means first we need to get our soil. We usually will get a delivery of compost, but of course because of the social distancing responsibilities we have, that's not an option this year. So I'm sort of being experimental with this larger area bed in that I put down a heavy layer of leaves, knowing eventually they break down into soil, but as a way to cover over the paper that is hopefully readily available. We couldn't get our compost, and it can be expensive and even a little challenging to get bags of soil. So because wildflowers don't need a lot of fertility in their soil and actually do better without it, here is just a bed we had dug up, just going underneath the grass, and this is about my 16th shovelful of soil in here. So this is what I'm going to use, and this is probably less than a bag would be, but you'll see the idea of how it can cover a large area to get a large area planted with wildflowers. Part of the fun of gardening is that you will think it over and maybe get ideas that are a bit experimental. So this is my experimental idea that I think will work out. So here's our large layer of leaves. This is just maybe a shovel and a half full of soil. Rather than trying to cover the whole bed with soil, which you see would take quite a bit, what I'm going to do is about a foot or so apart, just do shovelfuls over those leaves and with that newspaper under there, and these will end up being just individual beds for the planting. See, just a shovel, not even a shovel and a half, individual beds for the planting of our wildflowers that ask for much less soil. So I can just go along this whole line, this whole row, with the bit of soil that I have, and space it out in a way where I'm covering quite a bit of distance, but not using a whole lot of material to do so. So I will go ahead and do just those size small beds all along this row. So I ended up putting 11 small shovelful areas, and so basically we will now be planting 11 mini little wildflower spots. And so with the soil, you can just kind of smooth it out. It's already, pretty fine. And then first the large seeds go on, and you see again how the sand really helps to kind of know you're spreading it out evenly. And that, they get just kind of raked in, which very gently. So I just always kind of do it in this loose way. The little hand cultivator works well. Larger area, of course, was easier with the garden rake, but you could even just do this with your hands if you want to. So that is the larger seed, and then on top of that, after that larger seed is raked in, you take the seeds that are smaller and sprinkle them over. And then that whole thing, you can put on your glove if you like, gets patted down. So that is a mini bed we just planted. And I can do this on all 11 of the small beds we just made. Afterwards, just water them in. And you can do it just like I did. I have planted and patted down and watered all of the individual small beds. Here's my last one to water. And any seeds you just get started are going to want to stay moist for their first time. So you'll have to water them, if it doesn't rain, water them a bit every day. And they like a little bit of mulching over them to keep it a little damp so it doesn't just dry out right away. And you can do that. We have straw bales from last year, but you can also use kind of torn up leaves, and that'll do the same thing. Like I said, that'll keep it from drying up too quickly. And then one last thing, I got a few extra seeds. So here where there is no dirt, where it's just leaves, I'm kind of curious if anything will grow if I just put the seeds directly on the leaves, because that would be very good news because that would mean we didn't even necessarily have to do the soil. I feel like we're gonna have a likelier chance of success with the soil, and of course if you're just getting started gardening, you want to be successful and we want there to be growth for sure for the pollinators, so I think the soil is a good way to grow that. But if we find out that we also get growth right on those leaves, that would be wonderful too. So like I said, just give a little light mulch over each one, water them regularly, and pretty soon they should be springing up and we'll have a whole season's worth of food for the pollinators.